Okay, it's 39 minutes after 7 p.m. Welcome back. I've got attorney Yusuf Saib in the building, our Formula One correspondent. And yeah, man, great to have you here, man. Awesome stuff.
What's happening, brother?
All
You
good, man. All good. Hoping you had a good week.
I've had a hectic week, busy
Yeah,
week, but
yeah.
good week your side.
All right. Now, Alhamdulillah, with the grace of the Almighty, we had a good week. Alhamdulillah. Shukr. Irrespective of the situation, we make shukr to the Almighty for everything, every condition, good and bad. Prosperity and adversity comes only from the Almighty. Now, it is the sports segment, and it's broken up into two. Zakir Daud will be taking over in a few more minutes. We're covering the F1 segment now. Tonight, we're talking about the Turkish Grand Prix. We're talking about COVID impact of 2019 on the F1 sport itself. Honda exiting Formula One for the fourth time. We know recently in 2015 they came back onto the grid in Formula One in the sport. Also, we're going to talk about the Pirelli incident with Max Verstappen and the deflated tire that occurred. Right. So, Yusuf, first things first. 2019, obviously, I know you are F1 enthusiast. I know when the lockdown occurred, I saw already the post on Facebook. Very sad, yeah, very doom and gloom. A lot of people. How's this year of sport been for you for the Formula One? Obviously, it's been, how can I say, challenging with some of the races being halted and then it started again.
Well, we'll start off with frustrating.
Okay.
Because there was a lot of frustration of no sport.
Yeah. In general, yeah.
In general. And then obviously we did manage to get Formula One underway. It's been probably challenging for the teams, not really challenging for us because I mean we're getting
and that's what I want
the
to
opportunity
discuss.
to watch a Grand Prix nearly every weekend now. And of course the challenge to the teams is there's so much that's involved in setting up just for a race weekend and then obviously packing up and then getting ready to go for the next race. And when you have 3 races consecutively, you can only imagine the toll that it takes on the mechanics
on the
team,
crew. Yeah.
More so on them than your drivers per se, But I suppose
they
each
are
one
the
will
glue
have
that just keep it all together. But behind the scenes, these are the
they are the
pieces.
behind the scene guys, and they're the ones that really make everything happen. And not enough credit goes out to them. And I think we should spare a thought for them and for their families as well, because it's not easy, especially when you're traveling across across Europe. We can't even say much of the continent right now because a lot of the races that were scheduled to go in different parts of the world had to be, cancelled and sort of confined more towards Europe. And but still, I mean, you're away from your family, you're away from your children, your wives, and so it has its own challenge. But we were at 4 races now away from completion of the F1 season. So although it's been challenging, at the same time, hats off to everybody that's had the involvement in what they managed to achieve.
Now we're talking about the COVID-19 impacts, and you highlighted the toll it takes on the team. Let's discuss the teams in 2021. We know that Honda have said they're going to be exiting the F1 fraternity in 2021. I'd like to discuss they're exiting for the fourth time now. What exactly do you think this was a resource-driven decision, or is this more a decision based on the performance of the team?
Yeah, I would think it's more on the basis that they haven't seen the results. And if you look at the costs for these turbo hybrid engines, it is quite expensive engines to manufacture as a starting point. And of course, when you're putting that kind of investment in, you expect a certain result. And now, if you go back to the start of the turbo hybrid era, they started off with McLaren. That was back in 2014, and they were at the back of the grid. And they have obviously improved now that they've moved over to Red Bull, but still. It's a huge blow to Red Bull, first of all, because it means they without an engine as of 2022, and so they'll be looking for somebody else to supply them. And the chances of the likes of Mercedes, Ferrari, and Renault supplying them is, I think, pretty much off the table. So
now, hang on. We saw a merge with in a coming together of two juggernauts. I mean, one is McLaren and Honda coming together, and they formed a team. And then what happened? What do you think went wrong for them? Where did they
Well,
falter? I mean, they had a solid. McLaren was first with Mercedes before the Petronas AMG partnership. What do you think happened here? I mean, with the wealth of experience one McLaren brings to the table.
Yeah, well, effectively, McLaren designs the car, and then sort
Honda
of
powers
gives
the powertrain.
the specifications to Honda to sort of build an engine around what McLaren have done. If we go back, obviously, to the late 80s, early 90s, that's when McLaren and Honda initially had the partnership.
Yeah.
It was a very successful partnership with the likes of Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost, and McLaren were virtually unbeatable. So it's sort of trying to relive the old days,
The
in
legacy,
many ways,
revive
and try and
history.
revive that legacy and see if it could work. But while you may still have the same companies, the personnel have obviously come and gone. So it's something that they tried, and it didn't work out the second time around, unfortunately, for both.
Unfortunately, so
companies.
now it brings us to another talking point. And obviously, this weekend we know the Turkish Grand Prix is underway, and we've seen in news a little earlier. I saw Max Verstappen set an early pace for the Turkish Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton was fourth after practice 2. Yeah, so obviously fastest in both practices on what seems to be an ice-like surface in Istanbul. Talk to us about this weekend's race, and where do you see Charles Leclerc, Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen? Where do you see the teams in the top
Well,
four?
we have a green surface, and if I can just explain what a green surface means, it's a track that hasn't been run, I think, since 2011, 2012, somewhere around there. There has been other races on that track, but not consistent. So when you say green, there's not enough rubber down in the circuit. So generally on a track like this, on a Friday and Saturday FP3, you will see a lot of running, and that's because the teams will attempt to lay down as much rubber as possible. So obviously, the more rubber you have, the more grip you have, and the better the hold for the tires and performance of the car ultimately. And it's all about the lap times. So if you can obviously get more rubber down, you can get the lap times. It's a huge weekend.
Well, it's all about burning rubber, not your soul. So,
yeah.
That's what it's about.
It was actually my statement.
Oh, was it?
It was. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway,
I was saying it's a huge weekend now also for Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
Because this could be the record equaling weekend for Lewis in terms of winning 7 drivers world championships and equaling obviously the great Michael Schumacher's record. So Lewis has already taken quite a few records off Michael.
Sure. This will be yet another chance, another opportunity.
Yeah.
Go McLaren,
Effectively,
go Petronas, Mercedes, and I know that's your team. Yes, and it is mine as well. I do obviously love the Mercedes outfit.
Mercedes brand.
Now, looking at the Pirelli incident with Max Verstappen, and when the cause of the deflation of the tire, what exactly do you think transpired there?
Well, I mean, there's a number of reasons that could explain what happened with him in the tires. But I think if you look at Max and the position that he was running in, he really posed a threat to the Mercedes boys at that time, because he actually split them in the initial running of the race. So it was a bit of a sad incident for him to see that happen. But I mean, it's simple. If a driver just goes slightly offline, you pick up a little bit of marble, a bit of dirt, as they say, off the racing line, and the tires are sensitive. So if you obviously push the tire to a point of that sensitivity, you will obviously have incidents like what happened. But you'd need probably a full debrief.
Look, it cost him a second place. He did not finish. Predictions for this weekend in Turkey? What's your prediction for this weekend?
I think Mercedes are just way too strong at the moment. I think, as much as it's nice to see the Red Bulls or Max Verstappen, let's say, because it wasn't exactly
a single.
Yeah, it was a single horse race.
Yeah.
As much as it was nice to see Max top FP1 and FP2, I still think Mercedes still has a lot in hand, and still a lot more performance to unlock across the weekend. So they'll probably be having a debrief session, sometime this evening, trying to work out just exactly how they're going to unlock their performance. But if you have to obviously judge them on past races, you would say they have, at least a half a second.
I don't know about you guys, but you can comment below. What are your predictions for this weekend's Turkish Grand Prix? Our F1 enthusiast Yusuf Saib in the building talking to us tonight about the COVID-19 impacts on Formula One, and also the season thus far. Honda exiting Formula One 2021 and some of the teams. And yeah, well, that leaves us to about 10 minutes to 8. We've got Dakir Daud coming up next, continuing with the sports segment. And that's where we leave it, Yusuf Saib. Thanks for your input tonight, brother. We really appreciate your time.
My absolute
Your wealth of experience, coming in with a formal attire here, bringing that energy.
I always said I like to look good for you.
Okay. Alhamdulillah.
So I'd say that all of Sabah.
But anyway, it's 10 minutes to 8. That's where we leave it. Dakir Daud's continuing with the sports segment. We'll be back after this.